Welcome to Am I the Bleep?
Welcome to Am I... Wait, what was my bit again? Well, now that's the new bit.
That's
Now,
the bit.
Now that's the
bit. What was our bit? Can I guess?
Yeah, please help me out.
You were going to talk about the geopolitical situation, domestic and abroad. You were going
as I do.
Yeah, you were going to talk about how we're doing an afternoon record or evening record, and we don't almost never.
There's no time difference between Sudbury and Toronto, man.
Well, I'm just saying, we're both going to have late night DJ energy on the ones and twos. Welcome.
Late night with the Jonathans.
Late night with the Jonathans. I feel we've definitely done this bit before, but maybe this is the energy of the show.
I don't think we have done this bit before.
No.
If any of you listening want to chime in on the poll and say which of the Jonathans is the asshole for redoing this bit or not redoing this bit, please chime in. And also give us a review of over 5 stars minimum.
Yeah, immediately. I feel like it's bad form to pander immediately as the podcast starts. We have to give them something first.
Oh, Pander okay. Express. Let's go. It's okay. I gave you a little reinforcement for that.
This really is the orange chicken of podcasts.
What's that?
Orange chicken?
Is it a food at Panda Express?
Yeah. Can you not eat Panda Express? Is that one of your no-nos?
So I usually can't eat Chinese food.
That sucks.
Especially fast Chinese food. A lot of it's fried in the same oil. A lot of it has things that I just can't eat. There's a lot of things that I just can't eat. But orange chicken sounds like it would be a good idea.
I feel like I could make you some orange chicken and it won't get you sick.
All right. Well, coming back to Sudbury, baby.
All right.
What's the time difference like there?
We are exactly 0 minutes different. We are in the same time zone. We're not that far away.
Amazing. And you know what else is not far away?
The first post?
Yeah, I'm gonna just jump into it.
I love it.
Yeah. We have a very good friend who tells us we just keep going and going and going and going.
Yeah,
there
is no stop.
And so today we're just jumping into it, and I'll even read the long one first. So again, for those of you listening to this episode for the first time, this is the first time either of the Jonathans are reading these posts. It's the first time we're giving you our gut reaction, our visceral response. We're reading it, and we're going to determine, one, whether or not somebody's an asshole, pretty much the asshole, kind of the asshole, or not an asshole.
Yeah.
And two, we're going to share some, little under the radar coaching advice, understanding the mental health dynamics, the relationship dynamics.
Oh, yeah.
Because nobody is simple. Nothing is quite simple. And certainly these assholes aren't. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Am I the asshole for not wanting my polycule parents at my wedding? My parents are in a polycule relationship with a man. I've always been mildly uncomfortable with it just due to a variety of features about the whole thing. For starters, the man is as young as I am, and he basically now lives in my former room growing up. I don't say anything about it as it's their life, and they can live it as they like. And I'll be completely honest here, all of it sort of discomforts me. Nevertheless, I have my own life, and I still love them, and I try not to think of it in any capacity. They are happy, and that's good for them. With that background out of the way, thank you very much. I'm getting married soon, and I wanted my parents to be there, of course. They were happy for me and it was great. Then my significant other and I got to arranging everything for the wedding, and we eventually began arranging the seating. I wanted to run my seating plan by my parents as they know some people better, so I emailed them and asked them to look it over. They looked it over and then they called me that I had missed a seat for Dave, fake name for their significant other in that polycule relationship. I told them I didn't think Dave would be coming. They said they would be all coming, and I said I'm not sure if it's a good idea. I try to tiptoe to gently tell them to not bring Dave, but they were insistent, so I was frank with them, not Dave. I told them I was uncomfortable with Dave coming, and I wanted to share my special day with them, not Dave. I tried to explain why I didn't think it was appropriate. At this point, things take a turn for the worse. We had a back and forth, which basically devolved into a fight. Eventually, they basically said they'd much rather just not come if they couldn't come as a couple. I, in a moment of anger, said, then great, don't come, in a passive aggressive tone, and also in quotes. I haven't talked to my parents since then. In a way, I feel they've changed so much from when I was young. I still love them and I still wanted them to come, but all of this is just not how I imagined my wedding going. It's their life to live, but this is my wedding. So it's supposed to be about me and my significant other, surrounded by the people we cherish. Dave and I have no relationship. He's a stranger to me, and respectfully, I genuinely am completely fine with that. I want them to come, but if they want to bring Dave, I'd much rather they just don't. I love them, but I don't want Dave there. So, am I the asshole?
Yeah, it's hard because I understand both sides here. I think we have on one hand um someone who has an image of their parents the way that their parents were growing up, and they're used to that, and they also don't have a particularly strong relationship to this third member of the relationship that's been added. And this guy, this person is
Original poster.
this original poster is, yeah, I am a 26 male. So this guy is in a tricky position because okay, let's think of it this way. If your parents were divorced
Mhm.
and they each had significant others, and you weren't particularly close um with their significant other or their spouse or whatever, the people that they're with now, would you not invite them to the wedding because you want your people to celebrate with you um in a way that makes them comfortable? If you don't have your parents there, what will you have really accomplished? Then I kind of weigh that against the fact that this person has every right to say, like, if they really are okay with their parents not being at their wedding, then that's up to them.
Mhm.
The coaching that I think I would give here is, are you really okay with your parents not being there, or are you just upset currently that they put you in this situation and you're trying to just, push the whole thing to the side? But I'm interested to know, what do you think, Johnny?
So before we go there, you have to say if they're the asshole or not. You have
Oh,
to.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
keep dodging the whole point of the
You're
show.
right. I'm sorry. I'm a coach at heart. What can I
Speak
say?
your truth, brother.
Speak my truth.
Speak your truth. This is coaching mania, brother.
I think they're kind of the asshole for not um not looking into this. I'm going to say they're mostly the asshole because they're
Mhm.
not really coming into this with trying to think of their parents and their guests. They're very much thinking about what makes them comfortable. On your day, you can do that. You can. And that doesn't make you the asshole necessarily. But how you've gone about this is to basically dismiss their entire relationship in an effort to preserve what makes you comfortable in establishing your own. And I don't think that's what a wedding is for. I feel like a wedding is a celebration of love in all of its complicated forms. And if this whole thing makes you uncomfortable, I think that's something worth dealing with. But you said it yourself. It's kind of passive aggressive to not invite someone who's very important to your parents to the wedding, and or in a relationship with your parents to the wedding. And that would be true in a more kind of quote unquote common scenario. So why wouldn't it be true here? So I'm going to say mostly the asshole.
Yeah. So for me, there's a few interesting points. Obviously, the beginning of this post where we're talking about sort of the context of the relationship that OP has with Dave, and also the parents, and how it's kind of this uncomfortable scenario. Dave is just as young as OP is, which is kind of a unique situation, although I'm pretty sure I can imagine that it's not so unique. The question I have, though, is throughout the rest of this post, OP keeps talking about how much they love their parents, how much parents are important to OP, um, and then how OP tiptoes around them. The question is, what kind of relationship do you want with your parents? And if Dave, as their third person, is really important to them, you saying that you don't want to have a relationship with this individual, it's fine. You're allowed to do that. But it sounds like it's really important for your parents. So if you want to have a relationship with them as you have, it almost sounds like this tiptoeing is becoming a little obsolete. It's sounding like it's going to start coming to a head soon, and the wedding probably kind of fast tracks that. Although I can imagine eventually this is going to come up. What I think, and I do think there are some more details we want to get out of this.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know, what would they be okay if their parents don't come? Would they be okay if they don't have a relationship with the parents in the future, knowing that Dave is going to be there? What does that future look like? And if they're okay with that, that's totally cool. I think this is definitely a kind of the asshole situation,
Yeah.
because it's not like, the right thing to do. And for people not watching us on YouTube, and I know most of you don't watch us on YouTube,
Whoa, sick
looking at you
burn.
with guilty eyes. Yeah,
Harsh.
here's some ice to apply to
No,
that
you know
sick,
what?
sick
I'm
burn.
good cop, bad cop. You guys watch or listen to us however the hell you want.
Yeah,
Don't listen to Johnny. He's just an angry old man who's
yeah,
younger
I am.
than me.
Yeah, it's true. Um, but I do think that I totally lost my train of thought.
Oh no, I'm so
No,
sorry.
you wrecked it. You had to do the
Wait,
bit.
something visual,
Yeah,
clearly.
no, I can't remember what the visual thing was.
Oh
So
no.
if you're watching us on YouTube, it clearly doesn't matter. I'm dumb either way. Um, but I do think kind of the asshole. I do think there's some stuff to work through here. I do
Mhm.
think there's oh yeah, it was the right thing to do is to have them at the wedding. And to the people who are watching on YouTube, you're going to see my sarcasm and my air quotes, because there is no right thing to do. It's your wedding, it's your choice. Be surrounded by the
Yeah.
people. In the edit it talks about how it's a 53-person wedding. If we're doing a small wedding, you don't want superfluous people, which is how I think OP feels about Dave.
Yeah.
Um, the broader question, though, so like if you don't want to have them at your wedding, don't. That's fine to me. But the broader question is, it sounds like a relationship with your parents is important. Dave is important to them. Where to from here? And how do we
Hmm.
connect some of those dots? And it could be that that's stopping to tiptoe, which I
Hmm.
think that to me was like a drop the bomb kind of word.
Hmm.
And have a real conversation about it. Like, what do they see in Dave? Maybe there's an opportunity for you and Dave to get to know each other better, and that's kind of been missed, or maybe that's not important, and either way, it's okay. But this conversation will help bring us towards a future, whatever that future looks like with our parents, and that's important. But it's your wedding. Have whoever you want. Kind of the asshole, because don't tiptoe. Talk to people about the things you want to talk about and that are important to you and important for your future. And
Yeah,
at the
there's
end of
this
the day,
kind of
there's just going to be like a good conversation that will come to a result that takes you out of limbo.
right. Like that's the thing, this misconception that you're being kind by not saying anything. Like if something makes you uncomfortable that your family does, talk about it.
For
Like
sure.
that's the kind thing to do, is have a frank conversation. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be like you're
So
an
that's a good,
abomination or something like that, you
yeah,
know. And
that's a
it's
good
and
distinction though. What's the difference between having a frank conversation and having a mean conversation? Where do we draw that line? Now I'm going to interrupt you and like,
Okay, so I think that having a frank conversation is having a conversation where you're honest for the sake of doing good and helping the other person, not to make yourself feel good. Having a mean conversation is where you try to like, I'm just being honest because I got to be honest, is just making you feel better by getting things off your chest, no matter how it makes the other person feel. But if you're doing it for like, you want if you want your parents to have a close relationship with you, and this is a barrier to that, you can tell them like, I am under the impression you want to be close to me. This thing that you're doing makes me uncomfortable, and I kind of like don't understand it, and I want to give you guys like room to explain it to me, or help me understand what's going on. Now I understand like this is also mixed up with like a lot of really complicated things. Like polyamory is part of the queer spectrum, I guess I would put it, or is something that isn't heteronormative. But this person is having, by the looks of it, a gay wedding, so that's not neither is that. And yet those two things would have been on equal footing for most of modern history until recently. We come to the conclusion that love is love, and a lot of people are trying to like improve. So, practice what you preach. You're having this wedding that couldn't have happened for a long part of our modern history, unfortunately. Now's the time maybe to show what acceptance and being open looks like.
It's
That's
interesting that
also
you
where
went
I'm
that
coming.
way with that.
Well,
I
I'm
yeah.
just thinking like it's like who should, I can't believe that we wouldn't expect like I'm part of the queer community, and I would expect
By the way, I didn't mean it's weird that you said that. I meant it was
no, no,
weird that
no, no,
you.
no. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird that it was said. No, I'm part of the queer community, and I would expect myself to be an ally for everyone in that community.
Yeah.
It would be weird of me not to be in my eyes. So I just I feel kind of the same way towards this person, but I'm not judging him because I know it's hard. Like it's
Yeah.
difficult sometimes. You don't always immediately jive, and especially if it's your parents. And the age thing, I understand it's weird for you, and I get it, and I think that's why the conversation needs to be honest and loving and frank, not mean, but it should happen. That's why I agree.
For me, the reason I said it was interesting that you brought that up, and thanks for sharing all that, I think is that um, for me, the whole weird part about this is that they're in a relationship with Dave, and Dave is literally their age, and then also is living in the room that OP was growing up. So for me, OP, there's just like some very unresolved things that are sort of going on there that I think they just need to talk about outside of the scope of their wedding. Talk to a therapist, talk to a coach. In this case, a therapist is probably a fabulous choice.
Yeah, I think this one might be therapy. But
But
although
yeah,
coaching could happen here, and a good a
uh,
good therapist will
it's a yes
coach as
and.
well.
It's
Yes,
a
and
yes and. It's the
exactly.
improv of mental health care.
Porque no los dos.
But yeah, we're a bit, John and I are a bit on the different ends of the asshole spectrum here. So if you have your own thoughts about what you thought about this specific post, and we're going to jump right into the next two, feel free to let us know. There's a Q&A section on Spotify now, which is pretty dope.
Oh, that's perfect.
So you can let us know who you think the bleep was. And again, if it's one of us, we won't take it personally,
Yeah, we
but bare
won't. We
minimum,
agree, honestly.
5 stars.
Yeah.
Can't drill it
Oh, it
enough.
has to be five. Yeah, no, it has to be 5 stars.
If
I didn't even know you could give less than 5 stars,
like make
frankly.
8 different Spotify accounts, premium of course, and on all of them, 5 stars minimum. And John, you want to get to our second post so we can meet our quota of 3 posts minimum?
Am I the asshole for telling my friend it's pathetic that she can't drive, and at this point she needs to get over it? I may 100% be the asshole here. Always a good start.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's 22 and she has her license, but she can't drive. She is terrified of driving. The driving videos of crashes and her parents being stressed when teaching her. Her parents being stressful while teaching her really messed her up. She got her license and then never drove again. Anyway, She needs to be driven everywhere. We are in the US where driving is pretty important. Usually I'm fine with picking her up and driving her, but I'm just so tired of it. If we go out, since I'm the one driving, I can't have a drink. I have to pay for more gas. I have to figure out the route. If she's late, I'm also late. My complaints could go on and on. She was complaining to me about not going anywhere. And I reminded her she has a car and she could use it. And she does have a license. Now I have heard the whole spiel about how it's so dangerous. And I told her it's getting old. I said I can't be driving you everywhere. At this point, it is pathetic and she needs to get over it. She hasn't talked to me since and thinks I'm an ass. Okay. For everyone,
You did a great job. You did a
wow,
great
okay.
job.
Most people will not that grammatical structure that in that post was a little bit
rough.
challenging, but I think we all
You
got
did
the
very
gist. Well. This person can drive, they choose not to. They're burdening the friend feels like they're a burden and said some pretty harsh, or maybe not harsh, I guess we'll determine, things to the friend.
Well, way to cast early judgment.
No,
Also, way
maybe
to
it's
go
not
for
harsh.
getting spiel out of spill. That was very good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. I'm like, there's no way this is supposed
I
to
heard
be
the whole
spill.
spill, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then you were like, I heard the whole spiel. I'm like,
That makes more sense.
only two Jews on a podcast about "Am I the Asshole" would be able to figure that out. So we did.
Well,
We
finally, what 5,000 years of culture have manifested in something helpful.
1,000 years for each star that we're gonna earn on this podcast about
Exactly.
assholes.
Oh
Okay, so it's my turn.
yeah, tell me the truth.
So this is an interesting one because on one hand, we're going to continue with our Judaism thing here. On one hand, we have OP who is, taking the brunt of the responsibility in their relationship. You're 22, you're going out. If you have to drive anywhere, especially in some parts of, not being in a big city like Toronto, you have to drive everywhere. It makes sense that, having a car, that's your way of connecting. Taking turns would be nice, but if somebody doesn't drive, at least having, hey, I'm driving, can you pay a bit for the gas, or pay for the dinner, or whatever the case might be. The OP has this extra burden of not only having to drive, but also having to do all of the other adulting responsible things coming with driving. On the other hand, we have this friend who does not want to drive. She has her license. She did it. Way to go. But the driving videos of crashes have kind of spooked her, and it seems like she doesn't want to drive again. Now, we're coaching OP here, so I'm like, I'd be curious, has there ever been a conversation about those crashes, about, how they were actually able to get their license after, finishing driving school? What was that like? How far does the friend live from, the areas in which they recreate? I'm going to stick with that grammatical structure. I'm curious about those things. Now, with that, I do think OP, a lot of people do this thing where they bottle things up inside for a long time, and then they're just like, oh, I'm pissed off, so I'm just gonna say, like, I'm done with this thing, and it's gone past the point of no return. It was the straw that broke the camel's back, as it once did to Moses in the desert of Sinai. But that doesn't make you a good friend either, right? It's not okay. You're allowed to, like, we recently there's been this whole thing with Jonah Hill and boundaries and all of this, and here I think is a really good place to have a conversation with your friend and say, hey, I love hanging out with you. We're good friends. We might have been friends for a long time. We're figuring it out, and that's awesome. But if I'm gonna drive everywhere, you have to pitch in for gas, or maybe when it's your turn to drive, instead the Ubers are on you, or whatever the case might be. Instead, you kind of had this lash out. You think they just need to get over it without knowing how those videos of crashes really make your friend feel. And driving for a lot of people after experiencing that kind of, we'll call it trauma, can be a lot. And you don't know, maybe it might have been the videos of crashes, but maybe they have an uncle who got hit a long time ago. I remember I was literally in a car accident at the Promenade Circle, which is the oldest, like, it's like a mall for old people. There's a whole circle around the mall where the speed limit is 40.
Were
I
you
was,
was the accident moving at 10 kilometers an hour?
yeah, but so literally we were stopped at a light. I'll try not to explain this without just hand motion so the people who aren't watching on YouTube can also enjoy it. Hopefully not enjoy it. This is sad. It shook me, shookest. But I was at a red light with my green Kia Soul. I
Mm-hmm.
literally pulled out into the intersection, and the person on the other side, who was at a red, literally just T-boned me out of nowhere,
Oh
like
man.
RKO out of nowhere. And they must have been going at a maximum of 20 kilometers because it's a 40 zone. It was close enough, and they were out of stop, and they weren't driving like a Ferrari. But my car was like cut in half. So for
Yeah,
me, it took a
so
long time to be able to not be scared of driving again.
yeah.
So I can definitely empathize and sympathize with the friend a little bit here, but trying to remove myself out of it as we're supposed to do. Check our own story at the door. I do think OP has to have a conversation about what they really want, which is pay for gas, buy an Uber once in a while, so we can have a more equitable relationship when we're going out and being 22 and supposed to go out and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you need drinking to have fun, but also it's not fun to pay for gas.
Well, yeah, we have. Well, you and I guess you more than anyone. I think you were the first one to get the license out
I
of
was
all the
everybody's
friend group.
driver.
You were everyone's driver, and like, and I know it wore on you after a while because you were paying for gas. You were the one, having to show for everyone. You couldn't drink. I I understand where this person is coming from, but they're a real asshole. Like, I think this is a complete asshole way to put this. You're just because they're right doesn't make them not an asshole. And this is
Right.
like a really mean way to say it. It's not pathetic. It's not ideal. And it deserves to kind of be made equitable, exactly like you said, Jonathan. But man, like, to call someone pathetic because they have anxiety is, I don't know, it's kind of missing.
Did they
It's
call
kind of
them pathetic, or did they say I said I can't be driving you everywhere? Because I know the grammatical structure of this is a little screwed, so I didn't
they
take
said
it
it
that way.
is they said it's pathetic that
Yeah,
that what they're doing. And I just think that anxiety isn't pathetic. Anxiety
for
is
sure.
difficult. Anxiety is real, right? It's a real challenge to get your brain to calm down when you have anxiety. And it's not like it's unsolvable. There are great treatments for anxiety, including therapy and medication, but if you don't, if you don't have a social support network, it makes it so much harder to get over this kind of problem. And yeah, you can tell this friend, like, listen, I feel like I am kind of also not helping you because I'm driving you around everywhere. That wouldn't be an asshole move because you're trying to tell them, like, you've basically given them no reason to work through the anxiety. Or you could tell them this is inequitable and it's making me feel like there's an imbalance in the relationship. That wouldn't make you an asshole. But calling it pathetic, what are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to just, do you want them to stop and make them feel bad? Why do you want to make them feel bad? This is the kind of coaching we would want to explore with this OP. Like, what is your goal here? What are you trying to do? Because probably you succeeded in making them feel very bad, but why does that help their anxiety?
Right.
Or
So I actually want to jump in for a sec again, and sorry, I know I'm on a roll today,
yeah,
but
seriously, but I like it. I like the vim and vigor.
I'm watching BoJack, and there's a whole film. And that's for another time.
Yeah, sure.
Um, 5 stars, please. Okay. Um, so before I said, I had this bit of a discrepancy. You said, "Oh, OP called that person pathetic," and I'm like, "No, there's a period. At this point, it is pathetic." And when you're journaling and reading people's journals, this stuff matters. But I took a second to think about it, and it actually doesn't matter. And the reason is your whole issue with this friend is that they're not doing the adult thing really like you are and driving and taking turns and bringing equity into the relationship. your vision of your friend is that they're pathetic and that they need to get over it. Those are not the same thing. If your viewpoint on your friend is that they're pathetic and weak or whatever the case might be, that's not, your pathetic weak friend isn't going to be able to, get up and do the tough thing if that's the goal, which it seems like it's OP's goal. So you need to have a very different vision of what you want your friend to be. And the punctuation actually did not matter, because whether you said it or you're thinking it, it has an effect. Sorry,
That's exactly right. And I think it's just, I don't know. This is we assume positive intent, and the positive intent here is that the positive intent would be that you're trying to get your friend to get address their fears, but you have not done it in an effective way. And that is the kind of coaching I think we'd have to give here, that it's not effective in achieving your goal. Just because they're not going to, call you now. I mean, you may have ended a friendship, and that's, if that was the goal, you could have done that a long time ago, but it didn't seem like you wanted to. It just seems like you were upset. And it's okay. You can go back, you can apologize, you can explain how you really feel and be kinder, but this seems like a bigger problem than just get over it.
So let's take a look for a second before we jump into our last post and our shameless plugs. What is the best way to deal with a friend who is scared of something? So you have a friend, they're scared of something, you see them on the other side, and you want to you're like, come on, just do the thing already so we can move on with our lives. But they're not there yet.
I respect your fear of bees, and I would
let's
not
talk about that. Let's go there.
I would not expose you to a bee, and I would not make fun of you for being afraid of bees.
Thanks.
I would ask you if it's stopping you from living your life in any meaningful way. And if you told me I want to start making, having my own apiary so I could have my own honey, and I'd be like, well, that's going to be really hard for you with the bee thing. And you're like, yeah, it's a real problem. I'd be like, okay, let's think of all the ways we can start addressing this problem with the way people normally address like a phobia like this. That's how I would address it.
Exposure response. Is that what it's called? Exposure response
therapy.
Prevention. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exposure response prevention. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, and I wouldn't be the one to do it for you. I would do it. I would send you to a professional, but I would also say like, hey, listen, I'm here for you to talk about it, to know that you feel supported. Like, I'm not here to judge you. I just want to help you get through this. And that's how you show up as a friend when someone is afraid of something. You don't judge them, you show up for them.
Right. So in this case, to not be an asshole, which they even said at the beginning, I may 100% be the asshole here, which they are. I understand that their need for their friend to feel better, and what they said were different things. Okay. You're not the person to treat somebody's anxiety around car crashes. So if your friend is struggling with the car crashes, say, hey, I know that must be a lot, and it's kind of affecting our relationship. So in the meantime, let's Uber and split some costs. But I really want you to go talk to the therapist. I think it'll be a really, really great tool for you, and give it a try. In fact, this is the one I used, or whatever the case might be. Help your friend access the resources they need. And if you need to access some different kinds of resources, some that are perhaps a little different, a little unusual, some that come in the journaling that talks back kind of space, Perfect. Okay. Forgot my bit here too, but that's okay. If you're interested in learning more about what we do in a slightly less goofy way, check out the journalthattalksback.com. There's a book a call button. We offer affordable and accessible coaching for, initially we started doing it for young professionals, but it's turning into an everybody kind of thing, which is really, really cool. You track your mood. You have an intake call with me. I match you with one of our 9 coaches. There's no AI, no robots, no orange chicken, nothing like that. You track your mood, your sleep, your stress, you journal, and your coach reads in response to you every single day within 24 hours. It's fantastic. I'm a client myself since we started almost 2 years ago, which is wild. But you got to give it a try too. If you sign up for an intake call, it'll be with me. This Jonathan Freeman. Just let me know you came from the podcast, and we'll give you 10% off for as long as you want to stay using the service. And we also have merch. And if you're on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you're listening to podcasts,
Rate and
cannot
review.
5 stars,
stars.
please.
Hey, Johnny.
Yes,
I've been eating orange chicken exclusively when I coach. Am I not supposed to do that?
you're allowed. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
It's not always about you, John.
It's not always about me.
But this will be about me because I'm going to read it.
Do it.
That was almost a good segue.
I know it wasn't, but you know what? I was going to give it to you without saying anything.
All right, perfect. Just like the orange chicken you gave me last time I came over to Sudbury. Am I the asshole for going home after my in-laws excluded me from dinner at a restaurant? I, female 26, went on a quote-unquote family trip with my in-laws 2 weeks ago. Mother-in-law always thought that I'm a bit quote-unquote ignorant and quote-unquote backward, and that just because I come from a lower-class family, brackets compared to hers, that I have no etiquette. After we arrived to the hotel, they arranged to visit a fancy restaurant for dinner. My husband avoids telling me, and I learnt it at the last minute after he had already gotten dressed. I asked where he was going, and he said he and the family were going to eat out, but I wasn't invited because his mom quote-unquote assumed that since I wouldn't be familiar with the food and quote-unquote how to eat it there at the restaurant, then it's better for me to stay in and eat at the hotel. I didn't argue, I just let him go, and I packed and took for the food for the flight home. He freaked out and called many times, and when he found out that I went home, he blew up and called me ridiculous and irrational to do this, even said that I acted in an ungrateful manner and embarrassed him in front of his family, after he literally begged to have me go on his trip. We argued, and he started giving me the silent treatment after he came home. Moreover, his family are indirectly criticizing me on Facebook about what I did. Did I overreact? Am I the asshole? They didn't write "Am I the asshole?" That's why we're here. So, are they the asshole, Dr. Jonathan Rom?
Nope. I love the easy ones. Nope. No.
Why no? Why?
No. I literally just went on a trip to New Brunswick in Eastern Canada with my girlfriend and her entire family. And they were nothing but nice. They were nothing but kind to me. They also, just like this poster, like paid for all the expenses, which was super generous. And I think, though I probably would wait to have the conversation with my partner about why I'm leaving, I would also have left if this was so if it was so starkly disrespectful towards my intelligence and being like, oh, you're not fancy enough to come here, we don't want you to, like, making up some excuse because you don't want to basically be embarrassed by a person. That's not cool. And challenge with marriage is that you don't marry just a person, you marry their family. And when you marry a family, like, you kind of have to know what you're getting into. And I'm not saying like this should now end in divorce, but your husband should be on your side, because this was mean spirited and rude and disrespectful. And and just because people pay for your way on a trip doesn't give them authority over you or agency to act rudely towards you. That's not how that works. They're being kind, but if you decide, like, this generosity is coming with their disrespect and disdain, and also, like, your husband had to beg for you to be there, which is also not a great feeling. Like, why are you being around people who make you feel bad? You don't have to do that. You're an adult. So I think you're not the asshole at all. I'm sorry this happened to you. That really sucks. I would say that you maybe have to have a very serious conversation with your partner. Couples couples coaching, couples therapy would be appropriate here, but like you're not in the wrong. I think you were I just maybe would have stuck around to tell him, because he probably was, he probably cares about you. He might be conditioned to be this way by his family, and that like can be worked out. But man, that sucks. That sucks that they acted this way towards you. But maybe I'm wrong. What do you think, Johnny?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. And it's interesting that you brought up the piece after, because as I'm reading the post for the first time, because that's what we do here, um, I went on a quote unquote family trip. Maybe I'm a bit quote unquote ignorant. Firstly, why is family trip the thing in quotes? Like, are we pursuing separation, or is this something that's coming up? That's immediately where I'd go, kind of what happened after it, and during it. I agree with you that the thing to do would be to stay until after dinner and say, "Hey, I already bought a ticket to go home. I'm done. I really didn't appreciate that. I'm open to talking to you about it, but it can't be here. I need to take a break. This with your family was just too much." With any relationship, there is a learning curve with somebody else's family. There's no doubt. But if a family is concerned with your ability to eat food that presumably at this point you've been eating, teach you how to eat it. If there's like some unique way, or if there's like 8 different forks and spoons, or if it's like a special meal that requires like different kinds of cutlery, or like there's corn and you have the cute little forks that look like tridents, corn. You know what I'm talking about, the little corn forks, right?
Yeah, of course I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Corn
cool.
forks.
Corn forks.
I have no idea what he's
Um,
talking about. I don't know
but
what a corn fork is either. Don't worry, it doesn't make you less fancy if you don't know what a corn fork
yeah,
is.
you can leave me and go home.
Yeah.
That's what you're.
All right, I'm out.
John, yeah. But yeah, not the asshole. And also for the family to just be like, "Hey, um, I'm gonna indirectly criticize you over Facebook." Like, what are they on some Facebook group being like, "My daughter-in-law left the trip, that like whatever." She
Sounds
couldn't
like
eat
they're
the food.
subtweeting their daughter-in-law. They're just being like, it's so challenging. No,
Yeah.
wait, hold on.
Also, do they think that?
It's so challenging when an ungrateful member of your family comes along for a trip. Something like that.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
like it's the kind of people that go to a dinner party and they're like, never have I ever, like that kind of thing.
Like I say, I
Quite.
never quite.
Uh, but yeah, you're not the asshole. Like
No.
to John's point, sorry this happened to you. People, if you're in families that come from different means than other people, you're not better than them. You just have more money. And if there's like a gap in between what you're doing and the people that you're generously, quote unquote, bringing onto your trip, bringing them onto the trip was generous. The rest of the behavior wasn't.
Right.
Um, Teach, show, include. Don't be an exclusive, pompous asshole, which
Yeah.
all of you were. And this husband for not, saying like, "Hey, family, this is not cool," I think is very problematic as well. And I'm curious, like, if I were coaching this person, why was family trip in quotes? Was it because the trip was cut short, or because family is the real thing in quotes? So I'd be curious. But that's it. Not the asshole. We did it.
No,
We
not the
solved
asshole.
all the world's problems in one podcast today,
We
John. How do you
crushed
feel?
it.
We did crush
I
it.
feel good. Do you feel good?
I feel good. And if you want to feel even better,
So good.
so good. And you're interested in checking out all of the other episodes we've done, I think we have like 20 out now. Feel free to check out the backlog. We have done this a few times. We've had some guests on the show. We had Chat GPT on the show. Not a good coach. I can't judge. They did a pretty good job. But check it out. Give us at least 5 stars. We're everywhere: Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts. Dr. Jonathan Rom, Doctor of Technology. Tell us where else they can find us.
Yeah, between the last episode and this episode, I went and got my doctorate in technology. No, we're on Werkentwen? Werkentwen? Werkentwen. I don't know how to read German, but
That's pretty cool.
it translates to who knows whom. German social networking site. We're on there. I don't know why, because neither of us speak German, but we're on there.
It's big podcast they got us on.
Yeah, we had to be everywhere.
We had to. It's the only way we can get 5 stars minimum, 6 stars even.
If you can give us 6 stars, do it.
Please, we need it. We need your help. And John, you can cut my pity off by just telling people something that they can be inspired by, something that can help push them forward, something that'll bring them to the next level, even.
He who is satisfied with an asshole is satisfied with nothing.